My name is Barbara Barnes. At 52, I believed I had everything a woman could want: power, a thriving empire, and millions in the bank. But every time I caught my reflection in a window, I saw a stranger. Inside, I was still that vibrant girl who wanted to love and be loved, but my body was slowly betraying me. Then, Louis walked into my life. He was 27, a masterpiece of a man, and every time he looked at me, my heart skipped a beat. But our date at the restaurant was a disaster. I watched his eyes wander to Julia, the young waitress serving our table. A blonde girl with the kind of effortless beauty I had lost decades ago. He looked at her with hunger, and then he looked at me with a polite, suffocating boredom. Though he didn't say it, the message was clear. I was too old for him. In that moment of crushing insecurity, I would have traded everything I owned to be young again. And that was when Frank appeared. He looked like a common truck driver. Wrinkled shirt, rough hands, drinking cheap coffee from a plastic cup. But he sat at my table and offered me a deal that sounded like salvation. "You want to be like her?" he asked, nodding toward Julia. The price was absolute. My money, my business, every cent of my fortune. I didn't hesitate. I signed his contract, blinded by the promise of smooth skin and bright eyes. With one touch, the world exploded into white light. I woke up in Julia's body. It was intoxicating. The firm skin, the energy, the sheer beauty. I was certain that now, finally, Louis would truly be mine. I found him at the hotel where we were supposed to meet. I burst into the room, expecting passion, expecting him to be swept off his feet by the girl standing before him. But he just looked at me with confusion and irritation. "Where is Barbara? I need Barbara," he kept saying. The truth hit me like a physical blow. He didn't want a young beauty. He wanted my millions, my influence, my status. He was a leech who saw me as nothing more than a bank account. My youth wasn't a gift to him, it was an obstacle. He threw me out of the room, running to find the old Barbara, because he loved her wealth far more than any face. Heartbroken and destitute, I went to the diner where Julia used to work. There, at a booth, sat Frank, and sitting next to him was me, or rather, the woman in my old body. It was Julia. She looked tired, her face lined with my years, but her eyes were full of triumph. She had taken my life, my business, and my empire. "Give me my life back. Please," I begged Frank, my voice cracking. But he just pulled out a clean copy of the contract with my signature at the bottom. "You agreed to the permanent exchange of bodies," he said, taking a sip of his terrible coffee. "You're a businesswoman, Barbara. You should have known the power of a signed document. Everything has a price." He tossed a few bills onto the table, the tip for my new shift as a waitress, and walked away. Before he left, he offered one last piece of advice. "Don't look for love where there is only profit." So now, I am Julia, the young waitress, counting pennies and clearing tables. And Louis, he is right where he wanted to be, by Julia's side in my old body. He kisses her wrinkles now, because for every line on that face, he gets another million. I got exactly what I asked for: youth. But I lost everything that made me who I was. I have the beauty, but I no longer have a heart that it can keep warm.